Hi everybody, welcome to Guitar at 40. I am Tom and I have decided to learn guitar and yeah, I'm 40 years old. So we're gonna see how this goes. Just want to tell you a little bit about the channel, what you can expect to see on here, as well as a little bit about myself. And then we're also going to talk about some of the pros and cons of learning guitar at 40. Believe it or not, there are a few on either side. So, to get us started, why am I doing this? Well, first of all, if you're watching this in 2020, you're probably pretty familiar with everything that's going on these days. And it's just nice to have something to look forward to at the end of the day after I get off of work, shut off the phone, shut off the news, and just do my own thing, get out of my own head. And the guitar is something that I've always loved, kind of grew up around, but never really picked it up myself. Not entirely true. I'll go into a little bit more detail on my past experiences with the guitar. But also something that I've noticed that I struggle with as I get older and probably have struggled with most of my life is just learning to stick with something. I'm really good at starting new things, not so good at finishing them. When something becomes challenging or boring, I notice I've often lost interest and I haven't persevered through those challenges or through the boredom. And so unfortunately, I haven't really been able to reap the rewards of becoming really good at something or really expert at something. I'm okay at a lot of different things. I'm not an expert at any one. So I really want to change that. And I think the guitar is going to be a really great and fun way to do that. Talk a little bit about my, I did mention that this isn't exactly my very first time picking up the guitar. Probably about, I don't know, maybe 3 to 5 years ago, I was really interested in electronics and building speakers. One of my really good friends I grew up with is an amazing guitarist, and I thought, you know what, maybe I should get into guitar amplifiers, get something for my friend, build something for him. I had some really cool, giant, heavy magnet 1950s speaker drivers that I just wanted to throw into a guitar cabinet. And I thought, you know what I've got to figure out how to do this too. So I decided to pick up an electric guitar, play around with the electronics, and for a number of reasons, I never really got totally sucked into it. I played around for, honestly, I didn't make it past the first couple of weeks. Never really learned to play any songs. I spent way more time focused on figuring out what kind of thing to buy and way too much time on the electronics and building the amplifier, which ended up being really fun, but I also didn't really know enough to make the amplifier I built sound good. So I was getting frustrated with not being able to get good sound out of my amplifier. I didn't have any really good reasons for picking up the guitar, so it just faded away. I still have, I sold off, I had started with a hollow body, and it was big and chunky and buzzy, and I was getting really frustrated with it, thought, okay, maybe I got the wrong guitar. Then I switched to a Telecaster style. That one was a lot better, but again, I just ended up using an old Sears guitar amplifier from probably the 60s or 70s, probably 70s or 80s. I have honestly no idea, just picked it up at a local auction. And I hated the sound. So I wasn't sure if it was the guitar, if it was the amplifier, got rid of those two. I did stick with a classical guitar. I think it's just something nice to have around if the kids ever want to pick it up. If I ever have friends over who want to pick around on the guitar. I like the looks of it, I like the sound of it, so I have always hung on to the classical guitar, which is good because that's what I'm learning on right now. Not for long, I'm hoping to get something different soon. Let me also talk a little bit about my background with the guitar. Mentioned I had a good friend growing up, amazing guitar player. He never really ended up doing much else besides just local bar bands and those kinds of things. Had some personal trouble later in life and never got back into it. But really, he was my roommate in college, buddy in high school. He and other group of friends, all just fantastic musicians. I'll put some of their music on this channel at some point. I've still got some back from the bad old days of sex, drugs, and rock and roll, except not very much of the first one. All right. Let me talk about, so you might be looking at this thinking, okay, you know what? I'm a boring old middle-aged guy. Maybe I could learn the guitar and do something fun like that. So that's the position I'm sitting in here too. Really trying to think of, are there good things about this? As I've been watching different videos and talking to people and just remembering my own experiences, the typical new guitarist is, you think of a kind of misfit 14-year-old kid. And when I was a misfit 14-year-old kid, I hung out with a lot of guitarists, but never picked it up myself. I don't really picture that middle-aged 40-year-old guy picking up the guitar. Most of the 40-year-old guys I see around now, if they have anything to do with the guitar, they're actually pretty good at it by now, or at the very least a great, a solid jam guitarist, those types of things. So it's a little tricky to get into, but honestly, there are some pros and cons. As I was thinking about that, I thought that might be helpful for other people who are thinking about it or maybe a little apprehensive about getting into something this late in life. I know it's not that late in life. Any age really is a good age to learn something new. So let me start off with some of the pros. So at this point in my life, I'm a little better at focusing on things. I know I've got my job, I've got my family. Things are fairly well settled. When I was a teenager, I didn't know what I wanted. I tried this, I tried that, did a lot of different things. But now I feel like I've got the focus and the maturity to plan something out, to stay organized, to manage my time, and to learn and build and be successful. Also, there's a lot of freedom that comes with being 40 years old. That might sound like a surprise. Yeah, I've got the wife, the 2 kids, the couple of dogs, the mortgage. But guess what? It's my mortgage. It's my house. If I want to sit and practice in my house, I can do that. I don't have to find some neighbor's garage to go jam in. I don't have to ask permission to stay up late. Kind of those funny things you got to do when you're 15 or you're 16. I am, as I like to say, I'm a grown-ass man. I can do what I want. So there is a lot of freedom that comes with that. Sure, there's responsibilities of doing that, but I can set myself up in a little office down my basement, and I can do what I want there. Another thing that comes with being a little bit later in life is I actually have money. Not a lot. I'm certainly not wealthy by any means, but I have a steady job. I've managed my bills, all of those things. So I don't have to rely on mowing lawns for 3, 4, 5 months in a row to save enough money to buy some cheap $80 guitar off Amazon. I've got a little bit of disposable income. I can actually afford to buy quality products from stores that are really going to support it. I don't just have to rely on something from a no-name marketplace dealer on Amazon. And then the other one, and this one is, I'll have to discuss this one in a little bit more detail, is time. So a lot of people who have families, who have jobs, who are 40 years old, feel like you're busy all the time. And honestly, I really do feel like I'm busy all the time. But, when I actually come down and think about it, once I'm done with work, I don't have homework to do. I'm not trying to run around and hang out with my friends all the time. I'm not chasing girls and going out on dates. I've got some time. If I decide, rather than drinking a couple of beers and watching something funny on YouTube, I can head downstairs to my office, pull out the guitar and spend an hour on that. I don't have those other obligations. I spend time with my wife and my family. We eat dinner together. Then after dinner, we wrap up, clean up, and my time is mine. So I don't have to worry about, oh, I've got math homework to do for tomorrow, or oh, my buddies want to go hang out tonight. I'm gotta do that. So that one could go either way. If you're younger, it feels like you've got a lot of time. It seems like, I don't know, I've got a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old. Seems like my 12-year-old son, if he wants to spend 6 to 8 hours playing Overwatch, he can find that time to do that. But I feel like I can too. Sure, I've got responsibilities, but I feel like I can find the time. Now, let's talk about some of the cons. One of the biggest cons for me is just feeling so self-conscious, being a total novice at something at 40 years old. I'm not used to being bad at things, because at this point I've gotten good at my job. I've gotten good at working on stuff around the house. I love to learn stuff though, but I'm also used to being pretty good at things. I'm not used to feeling like a total absolute novice anymore. I think that's something when you're younger is maybe a little easier to go through because everybody's kind of going through it, but as a 40-year-old starting something like this and just feeling like a complete idiot makes me a bit self-conscious, even to the point of walking into a music store feeling like everybody around you is looking at you and you're going in there knowing absolutely nothing. Flip side of that, I have found whether it's chatting with guys over the internet, whether it's walking into the local music shop here, everybody is super friendly, super supportive. Even if it was 20, 30 years ago for them, they're really passionate about what they do. Just was on the phone this morning with a music store, a guy from a music store out of Florida, and he's super friendly, really welcoming. It's just like, hey, he's excited for me, all that. It's great. So yeah, there's some self-consciousness, but you know what? There's some great people out there too. Another one I talked about, I do have some responsibilities. So yeah, I can spend $300 on a brand new guitar, or I could spend $500 on a brand new guitar, but I also got to make sure that my kids have lunch money, that our car is paid for, that our mortgage gets paid. So I do have to balance those responsibilities. I can't up and leave and go take off on a week in a van and try touring or gigging, and which brings me kind of the other con. A lot of us at 40 years old, especially if you've moved a bit for work or for whatever, which I have definitely done. I don't live in my hometown anymore, so I don't have all my buddies from school. I don't know that many people. I know the people I work with. I know my family. That's about it. So if I get to that point where I want to gig or I want to at least jam with somebody, I'm not entirely sure how to do that. I'll find out. Well, stick with me. Subscribe to this if you're interested in finding out how things turn out for me. Definitely recommend that. So, are there other pros and cons that you can think of? I would love to hear from anybody who started early, and maybe you could talk about what would it be to start later in life. Some of the things maybe you wish you had when you were young that maybe somebody who's 40 could have. Also, what's your experience? Are you just starting out? Did you start out later in life? Anything like that. I'd love to hear other people's experiences. So leave that in the comments below. All right, this is getting much longer than I'd expected. Sorry about that. But just really quickly talk about what's coming up. I'm mainly just doing this channel for me. I wanna be able to look back and see my own progress. So I apologize if the lighting and everything is not absolutely beautiful and perfect. I'm actually sitting at work doing this right now because we have pretty decent sound and lighting and video, working on getting set up at home. So I do apologize if it's not up to high YouTube standards, but honestly, I'm really doing this for myself. I want to be able to watch my progress and kind of have a video journal of my thoughts as I'm going through this process. But I realized too, as I was looking at other things, I was having a hard time finding people like me, people who are getting into this at an older age, who are sharing their experiences. So I thought it might be helpful to share mine. If you find it helpful, definitely give a thumbs up down at the bottom. So what's coming up every week? I hope to do a discussion like this. We're going to talk about, I'm trying to buy, I want to get into an electric guitar. So I'm going to talk about some of the electric guitars I'm looking at and amps that I'm looking at. I'm going to talk about how I am learning, what different online tools I'm going to use. So each week I'll post probably about a 10-minute video just discussing some different topics. And then also each week I'll post a video that is a weekly update on my progress personally. So I'll have a guitar in my hands. I feel like I should have a guitar in my hands now, even just to talk. But I'll let you guys, if you want to, hear what I'm sounding like, hear what I'm working on. I want to talk a little bit about what some of my challenges are, what I'm working on, give you some examples, talk about some of my successes, so those kinds of things. So each week I hope to do a discussion post and an update on my lessons, and I hope you'll join me. So thank you. If you've stuck through this video this long, through all of my lovely rambling, hit that like button, give me a subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.